Flint gives you 3 different types of tremolos: the sonically complex 61 Harmonic Tremolo, the swampy and sultry 63 Power Tube Tremolo, and the sharp and balanced 65 Photocell Tremolo. You also get 3 completely unique reverbs: the classic 60s Spring Tank Reverb, the solid-state 70s Electronic Plate Reverb, and the nostalgic 80s Hall Rack Reverb. The Harmonic Tremolo is the rarest of the 3 tremolos we have, and it had a fairly short period of availability in the early 60s. It gets its signature sound by using a dual band filtering effect that alternately emphasizes the low and high frequencies.
Bringing the intensity up brings the tremolo in a smooth manner. There we hear the more exaggerated alternating frequency bands of the harmonic tremolo. At full intensity, a nice deep tremolo is achieved. The speed control is adjusted to have a range that goes lower than was found in vintage amp circuits. So you get a nice mellow sound there. Again, the speed control will very smoothly change the LFO speed. A fast flutter there.
The Power Tube Tremolo utilizes an LFO to directly change the power amp tube bias. Some of the signature effects of this tremolo type are crossover distortion at low volumes, power tube distortion at maximum volumes, and power supply sag.
Again, with zero intensity, no tremolo to be heard, but smoothly brought in with the increasing intensity knob. Very smooth, pleasing characteristic of the tube circuit tremolos. Now, biasing the tube tremolo was always a bit of a trick, so many examples of vintage amps don't have a very deep tremolo, but we wanted to make sure with full intensity that you can get a nice deep tremolo that actually goes to zero volume on its low point.
Our Photocell Tremolo is a faithful recreation of the classic Phototrem circuits from mid-60s American amps. Those circuits are actually the most common type of vintage tremolo you'll find. They use light-dependent resistors with neon bulbs to vary the resistance of a resistor that change the amplitude of your guitar signal.
You can hear the nature of that circuit, which is a little more of a harder edge compared to the tube type or the harmonic type. And again, somewhere around here is where most of the vintage amps will max out their intensity. There's a full off part of the waveform there, but it is very short. And we've given you a little extra range. Again, the speed goes lower than was available in the vintage amp circuits.
60 Spring Tank Reverb is our very faithful recreation of a full-size 2-spring tank. This type of reverb was commonly used in vintage amps of the era. In a 2-spring tank, each spring has a slightly different delay time, which adds to the complexity of the reverb sound.
With the decay at minimum, we're going to get a very short, damped sound. Maybe that allows for a little higher mix to be used. Bring that up some more. Somewhere around here is where most of the longer spring sounds are produced. What's nice is you can get a long spring tank and darken it up a bit and bring the mix back a little bit. Get a nice kind of a mellow classic sound there. At maximum, we get a long ringing spring sound. We make that really bright. Let's increase the mix here some.
Our 70s Electronic Plate Reverb is a tribute to one of the earliest digital reverbs. Its reverb algorithm was actually all hardware-based and used multiple delay lines in parallel. Each delay line had multiple taps and filtered feedback. This reverb is smooth and rich, with a quick build-up in density.
Bring the decay to minimum. Get a very short plate there. At maximum, a near infinite plate will occur. With the impact of the color, we can get a bright plate here.
The 80s Hall is our rendition of 80s rack reverbs. These were microprocessor based, but had extremely limited processing power. Because of these limitations, the designers were forced to get very creative. They used efficient regenerative series loops of all-pass filters, delays, and low-pass filters. The delay lines were also modulated to increase density and add warmth. These 80s halls had distinctive early reflections, followed by slowly building late reverberation.
At the shortest setting, you get a very close space. Nearly infinite decay on the 80s reverb as well. Now we'll hear the impact of the color knob. Very nice warm reverb there.
Flint has 4 secondary functions, which are available by holding down both foot switches and turning the desired knob. The 4 functions are Tremolo Boost and Cut, Reverb Boost and Cut, Tap Subdivision, and Effect Order, which swaps the order of tremolo into reverb or reverb into tremolo.
We're going to start with the reverb feeding the tremolo, which is the configuration of the vintage combo amps. So there you hear the reverberated sound is being affected by the envelope of the tremolo. So the tremolo is very dominant in the sound there. But if we change the order and have the tremolo first into the reverb, that gives us the sense of a tremolo amplifier that's being recorded in a large space or had some post-production reverb added to it. So there, the reverb is not affected by the tremolo envelope.